Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. I'm doing a series of spotlights on remarkable business intermediaries and exit planning advisors from across the country. And joining me on this segment is Michael Wildeveld. He's the founder of Veld Mergers and Acquisitions. Michael, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Mark.
Michael, tell us a little bit about your work and specifically tell us who are the types of clients that you specialize in helping.
We've been doing business sales for 20 years, but we really got into exit planning about 10 years ago. And that's because there's a specific need for clients doing, let's say, $500,000 and upwards in earnings to look at the holistic view of their business transition. It's not just about, what you sell and what that initial strike price is. It's about how much you keep and what are your greater life goals, whether that be your retirement, your family and staff situation or other shareholder situation, or what you want long term. It's not, a lot of folks aren't selling just to retire, or if they are, they realize that might not be for them in the long run.
These business owners that you work with, they're great at starting a business, running it, growth, but when it comes time to selling, do many of them even know where to start?
They don't, and frankly, that's the challenge. One way or another, everyone's going to exit their business. It's either going to be on their terms or somebody else's, right? And that might be Uncle Sam's terms. There's the 5 Ds. Hope I can get them all. Let's think: divorce, distress, disagreement, owner disability, or the big D, death. But one way or another, it's going to happen. And like all things in life, we don't want to think about our own mortality, or we don't want to think about what can go wrong. But all of these things inevitably are potentially there. So our clients, frankly, fail to plan. There's the old adage, you don't plan to fail, you just fail to plan. The difficulty in exit planning is it could be so costly in terms of enterprise value that the clients are missing the boat in terms of where they really need to focus on their business.
So when you shine a light on that, it makes you realize that, hey, maybe you really need to plan on this when you start the business. It almost seems like you need to get that in place. One of the inspirations for doing this series is the lack of information out there and the knowledge of like what an exit planner does. Can you kind of help us shine a spotlight on the role of an exit planner and what you help these business owners go through?
Of course. If I were going to make it real simple, I'd say the exit planner is the quarterback. There might be 10, 12 plus disciplines on any exit planning team. It's not really just one person. It's a team of people, service professionals in their respective fields. And that could be, just think about the accounting umbrella. We might have the auditor, the quality of earnings report and due diligence team. We might have your day-to-day accountant, but also your tax accountant, your real estate appraiser, and your business valuator. All of those are potential parties on an exit planning team that participate, but that's all just under one umbrella. There's also your wealth management, your financial planning, that could include or should include your insurance planning and all the insurance products, and not your typical just life available related insurance products, but all the ones that could help you mitigate your taxes on sale. Of course, there's legal, a key component, but not only your incumbent attorney, but also your M&A advisor attorney. So 2 different fields, but all of these folks come together. The exit planner really is, I said, the quarterback. We're trying to get all these folks to work in concert with one another to do what's best ultimately for the client. And again, it's not about just selling a company. That's what we focused on for the first 10 years. It's really about what's that holistic picture of long-term planning.
There are a lot of moving parts in this. And, speaking of that business owner that doesn't really know where to start, do they hold any preconceived notions or any myths or misconceptions that they've heard around the subject of exit planning that aren't quite right? What have you heard?
Of course, there's nothing but preconceived notions. Number one, everyone focuses on what their exit value is, right? It's an easy number. They say, I want to sell for $10 million, right? So let's take that $10 million example. They have that in their head, but they're not thinking about what they're ultimately going to net after capital gains taxes, after fees and expenses, and where they're going to be long term. Do they have an investment strategy post sale? So these owners will focus solely on, how do I build? Let's say it's a company doing 2 million in EBITDA, or proxy for earnings. They're looking at a 5 times multiple. So they're going to focus on that $10 million number. They might invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in a few years to try to squeeze $15 million out of that sale by getting that $2 million in earnings to $3 million in earnings. The challenge is, if they properly plan, they might net more out of sale proceeds right at that $10 million strike price than by ever spending the time, risk, energy, or anything else in growing the company. You can get the juice without necessarily having the squeeze. It's just out of their field, so they don't think about that, right? There's a learning curve to understanding everything available to you. I'm still learning every day. But owners, aren't going to think about that. And then they're going to go to their legacy trusted advisors, all of which are well-meaning, but a lot of them aren't exposed to all of these different fields. And any of the ones that I mentioned, the dozen plus, everyone has a company. That company has a product. Those advisors sell that product. That's what they're used to. That's what's in their comfort zone. But there's a whole gamut of not only transition options, but also tax mitigation or efficient tax strategies that could be employed in any given sale. No one's gonna be aware of that. I hate to digress, but I'll share. If we've come up with, let's say, 20 transition strategies, right? And 3 might be kind of the tried and true that everyone knows about. A traditional sale, an ESOP sale to your employees, or something within family type of transition. There's about 17 more, maybe 5 of which we've kind of invented or championed, that are a little more exotic. They're a little more, some are more simple, some are a heck of a lot more complicated, but they're all options that really might fulfill that owner's need. And if there's 20 of those strategies, and then the tax planners and wealth managers have about 40 or so tax mitigation strategies, you look at all those combinations, I think that's 800 permutations of what an owner can do to maximize their exit that they're going to be unaware of.
Fascinating. Michael, what inspired you to get into exit planning and help business owners in this area? How did you get started in the field?
Well, I'll share. I've found in life in general, there's hacks. We've all discovered different hacks for accomplishing what we want to, and everyone kind of relishes beating the system. Early on, I'd founded a company. I transitioned it when I was 18, 19 years old. I went to expensive school, Vanderbilt. I put me and my wife through school. It was costly, but I'd always loved to travel. Couldn't afford to travel then. So I figured, okay, I could get a job at American Airlines, get my wife a job at Holiday Inn, and we figured out how to make $5.50 an hour like I did, but still travel the world for next to nothing. The same holds true when it comes to selling your business. After, we've done 1,000 plus transactions, but let's say after the first few hundred and the first, up to 10 years, we realized the whole focus is on this numerator. What's my sale price, that $10 million or $1 million, whatever the number is. But if you look at the denominator, your taxable impact, and then you look at the long term, what investments can kick off as a result of those sales proceeds, and what does that look like? There's a hack, and it's a fantastic hack. It's perfectly legal. There's just different ways to go about it depending on what your own interests are. So we could pass that knowledge on to clients, and everyone could ultimately benefit more from what they've built. It's a Pareto efficiency. Everyone wins. No one's worse off, except maybe Uncle Sam when it comes to collecting taxes.
That's a terrific travel hack. That's a writer downer, Michael. Other people can learn a lot from you, Michael.
I have a hack for everything in life, man. Everything.
Before I ask you my last question, is there anything I didn't think to ask you that you feel is important to share for a business owner so they can properly prepare, not be behind the 8 ball, and have a great exit plan in place in today's economy?
Maybe a couple, quick tips. Number one, you got to have an open mind. There's a great book, Harold Zweck, called Mindset, and it's about kind of a fixed mindset or an open mindset. So many people just come with a preconceived notion of how it has to be. I need a standard sale. I'm selling to a buyer. They're paying me full cash at close, and I'm riding off into the sunset. I'll tell you an ugly truth about selling companies, and that is, you're not going to hear this anywhere else. Mark it down one time, right? I might never say it again. Most sellers are ultimately dissatisfied with their sale. It's no reflection on us. They love us. We did exactly what they wanted us to do. The challenge is 6 months after the fact, they realize they're entrepreneurs. They like solving people's problems. They like creating and inventing, and they're not satisfied running off into the sunset and being on permanent vacation. So there's ways to plan in advance when you're transitioning to fulfill that desire post-transition.
Sage advice. Michael, for those listening who are interested in getting an exit plan together and they really would like to speak with you, how can they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
I'd go to our website, veldma.com. Veldma.com stands for Veld Mergers and Acquisitions. We have a exitability assessment on that, just at exitabilityassessment.com. And you can kind of look at where you're at in the planning process and what you do or what you don't know. It's helpful to folks. You can always call us, no obligation. Everything's confidential. We like to share knowledge. We like to help folks any way we can. We're not looking to get you into a sales funnel or somehow harass you to try to have you sell before your time. In fact, a lot of times we tell our clients, you shouldn't sell. It's not what you want long term. It's not going to fulfill your family interest, and it's not going to be kind of what you envision for your legacy.
Michael, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you stopping by and sharing with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
It's been my pleasure, Mark. Thanks for having me.
That was Michael Wildeveld, the founder of Veld Mergers and Acquisitions. And this segment has been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses and practices, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.